Welcome to the Versa Business Tips Podcast. I'm your host, founder and CEO of Versa Business Systems, Shaheen Mazloom. We are here with a serial entrepreneur today. He's a beast when it comes to marketing. Eric Holtzclaw, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for hopping on with us. So for those out there that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So I am the chief strategist at a company called Liger, which is part of a larger organization that has a bunch of things underneath the umbrella. I'd like to tell people that I'm a recovering technologist. So back in early in my career, I ran development shops, worked for some Silicon Valley-based companies, building professional services organizations for them, did a research company, and then I accidentally started a marketing company. So marketing is a combination of technology and understanding your customer.
Right.
And so it's kind of a good place to live because I can talk to the technologists about how to implement what needs to be done and what the messages need to be. So
Definitely, man. So marketing's constantly changing, right? And you're right. When it comes to technology, it changes with technology, right? Like how people want to be marketed to versus how people, where people go to get their marketing, and it's constantly changing, right? Like 20 years ago, you didn't have streaming; that wasn't an option for marketing, right? Now there's so many different options, and I think as business owners, it's tough. It's tough to figure out, like, where do I market? Where is my money best spent? Where are my where are my clients or my ideal clients hanging out, spending time? There's just so many more options. Back in the day, it was like TV, radio, print, right?
Yep.
And that was it. And now you've got social media, and you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, you've got Meta, you've got TikTok, you've got YouTube, you got Google. There's just so much. What would you say is the best place to start in figuring out what types to at least try? Because I feel like marketing's trial and error, right? See what works.
It's a lot of experimentation, and regrettably, business owners believe it's a set it and forget it. So they want it to be like setting up their books. And
we want to, yeah.
I get a P&L every month,
balance
sheet, and I relate it more to working with your financial advisor. So with your financial advisor, you have this portfolio, you have some bond components, some things that you just absolutely have to do. And then you got some high growth stocks and maybe some international, like you're thinking about it, and you need to continually move those around. One of the new trends, of course, being AI and how that's going to impact search. The good thing is that some of the bases are still the same bases.
Right.
So even if you're selling an offline product, having a digital presence and making sure that your website is your best brochure, and then you're building content like a content ring, which this podcast you're doing is a great example of that, where you're educating your customers and telling them, teaching them something. Think of it as a magazine, not a catalog.
Right.
So a catalog tell you a story about what I do. And then the next ring is going to be either search, meaning that people actively know how to find you and look for you, or is it interruption like social media?
Right.
So those three, before you go and do any of the other fancy things, it's kind of like when you talk to your financial advisor.
You got to have that other. You got to have the
base.
What's it called? The foundation figured out first before you start driving traffic to a terrible website or a non-existent social media presence.
You're wasting your money, and that's. If you talk to a financial advisor, they're like, make sure you have a rainy day fund. Make sure you're maxing out your 401k. So same kind of advice. Make sure your website's good. You got to be building content. And then you're either focused on search because people know how to actively find what you sell or who you are, or it's on social / interruption. So you're new, nobody's familiar with you. How are you going to get in front of them on the channels that they may be participating in? And then channel selection is demographics. Right. So are they older, so maybe Facebook, or are they younger, maybe TikTok? You start to think about that, making sure that you don't just focus on one channel.
Right.
The channels come and go, and so you want to make sure you've got stuff in a couple.
Absolutely. You bring up a great point that I don't think any marketer has ever brought up, and relating it to thinking about marketing similar to you thinking about meeting with your financial advisor. And that's an aha moment for me, because nobody's ever explained it that way before. But you're so right. Like, if anybody that's been in business for over 5 years, you look at your marketing trends and what worked and when it worked and how long it worked for. None of it you were able to just set it and forget. At some point, you had something knocking on your door saying, hey, man, like it's not working anymore. Right. Yeah. Like whether it was you looking at your bank statement or something, but
so your leads dried up or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right there. I mean, you've got to constantly look at those numbers. What are the analytics? Are things starting to move in a positive trend? Should we put more towards it? Is it moving in a negative trend? Should we back off a little bit, right? Like, how often would you say that you should be looking at those analytics? Like a weekly basis, monthly basis, or like daily?
Actually, my answer is going to be a little longer than that. So,
Okay.
and it may be the category we're in. So we primarily work in complex sales. So and people would call it B2B, there's B2B and B2C.
Yep.
I think it's relational versus transactional. So
Yep.
B2C is,
Similar to how we operate. Yep.
yeah. B2C is like I'm selling you a t-shirt.
Right.
And if it's B2C, you're probably looking at it every day, once a week, like whatever. If it's relational, complex sales, most of the clients we work with, it's a 180-day sales cycle. Those people, we're honestly only looking at overall trends over a 60 to 90-day window because we have time to see what's going to work. And so if we try to make a change too quickly, we may be screwing something up that's actually working.
Right. So it's you're saying base it on your sales cycle.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Once you have enough data to be able to, so okay, that makes sense. So if your sales cycle is a 30-day period, then you maybe want to look at it every couple of months. Right. Versus if your sales cycle is, like you said, 180 days, then you're probably only looking at it
every quarter because you're looking for overall
4 months
scale. There's downtimes in business, which if you're trying to relate those to previous, well, everyone was on vacation. So who cares? There's nothing we could have done. Right. So, but these companies, as we go into like Black Friday and you're running a disc, like I wish we worked with companies where it's like, I can give you 50% off. And that just isn't the thing we do.
Right. Same.
If that's not working in the first day or so, you should probably change the tactic. That's probably not the right one. That's not what your customer base wants.
Yeah, so, definitely. So like, and you bring up a great point because I think a lot of the times, especially with like marketing books and marketing seminars and trainings and this, that, and the other, it often relates it not to B2B. It's all, it's like, offer a discount, offer a 2-for-1, or, you can do like a funnel, right? Yeah. Like the funnel is how you buy, like, okay, so you bought this. Now you can get this, and this for 50% off for just $29.99. And then, and then the next page, you got some other offer. And like you said, with B2B, you can't really do that, right? It's, so what are some of the best things that you're seeing as far as B2B to bring in a lead? So for us, I completely stopped all our Google ads and all our Meta ads because of the election. It just got way too expensive. I mean, insanity. So we just shut it all down, back to the basics, just focusing on our current client list and people we've done business with in the past. And, that's the way we're going to keep it until after probably until after Black Friday. And then we'll get it back on and turn it up a little bit. And then after the holidays, we'll crank it back up again. Right. But, what are some of the best trends that you're seeing as far as marketing avenues for B2B, for lead generation?
So the move from people being sold to versus wanting to buy, like people love to buy, they don't want to be sold to. So how do you make it easy to facilitate the purchase? Yeah. And knowing in B2B, it's a very dangerous decision. So that's something that people don't think about. If I'm in the business world and I'm making a choice, I could get fired. I could lose my business. So I'm going to spend a lot of time educating myself. Yeah. And guess what? I am not going to educate myself on your website because I know the second I show up on your website, someone's going to call me or you're going to start sending me things or whatever. So I will avoid everything that has to do with your digital ecosystem until I am really ready to buy. In fact, there's a stat out that says that 80% of the buyers have made the decision before they pick up the phone, call you, or reach out to you in the B2B space. Interesting. So all that you're doing when they call to you is either screwing the deal up or closing it, right? So, thinking of places they're looking for reviews, do they networking events where they're going, but you don't have to go, like going to a networking event. Like, is there something you could do around that event? Like, can you vampire it in some way and provide some additional content or educate them on something. So it's making them look smart and concentrating on the fact that they probably don't care about your product or service, but they do care about getting a bonus. They do care about their next, position at their company,
Right.
either want to go work for. So we always focus on how we make the company or the client we're working with look really, really good inside their organization.
Right.
So how can you build those things that then point to your solution as being the solution that's going to move them into that place?
Interesting. So now I think I'm following you here. So are you saying more make them look good, like providing content about their business and how well they're doing?
More around like educational. So for example, if I'm out looking for a solution in B2B, and I've got, even for my own career, there's several times I had to go out and buy something,
Right.
For the business. And I'm like, I don't know anything about this, right?
Right.
And the people who did the best for me were the ones who would come in and educate me, because they weren't going to get to talk to my boss.
Right.
And so I'm like, I can go talk to the boss or talk to my teammates and look like an expert because they've given me the information I need. Talk about it, explain it.
Right, right.
And if you can teach other people, then it makes it easier for.
100%. I've always been a firm believer in educating your way through a sale, because at the end of the day, you got to, especially in B2B, you got to make an educated decision, because like you said, that decision could be detrimental to your job or your business.
Right? Yeah, and the thing I run into, and I was with a client yesterday, and they talk about educate, but they talk about educate in the same way catalogs talk about educate. Right. Like when I go buy a car, I love cars. I buy them all the time. That is my thing. I know nothing about them.
Yeah.
If my car breaks down, I have to call a mechanic. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I like to put the key in and drive off, or push the button and drive off.
Yeah.
So the second the salesperson starts telling me about all the stuff, I'm like, I don't care about the stuff, right? So how do you get that person to envision themselves? How is that, what is that doing for them? What's the higher order of delivery? And people want to tell us, it's secure and it's this, and I'm like, I sort of expect that, right? Like if it's table stakes, so what? Like what's the thing how's it going to give me more time, or how's it going to make my life more convenient, or how am I, going to be fast tracked internally? Those more emotional, and companies get caught up in like their precious little thing they've built.
Right.
No one cares.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think, people got to focus more on the being the solution to a problem. One, making sure that whoever you're talking to understands that they have that problem and that it is a problem. Because until they believe they have that problem, they're not going to buy anyway. Right. Like,
they're comfortable. No problem.
Yep. Exactly.
People don't like change, and so you got to make them uncomfortable.
Yep. 100%. So now with technology, things are obviously moving into AI automation. I feel personally like AI is under siege. Mm-hmm. You had the thing go down with Twilio. There was some scam. A bunch of people got scammed through these Twilio numbers, and then they went after Go High Level, and the carriers, the phone carriers. Now you can only send a certain amount of texts out. You can't send cold texts. If you do, you can get cut off from the phone carrier. It's like it's getting harder and harder. So we've got this great technology in AI, but now they're making it harder and harder to use because the bad people are out there trying to use this technology too, right? So are there any like really cool technologies that you've seen recently as far as marketing that's maybe not under siege that people aren't utilizing enough?
Well, I mean, so I'm old. In fact, I'm wearing a shirt that says "Old Atlanta" today. I'm old. I'm an older guy. So I've been through a lot of technology changes. All the things that you just said are the same things that were said about the Pony Express, about mail, about the internet, about smartphones, about so the AI talk track is the same. And the
Right.
truth of it will
Okay.
be any company that doesn't adopt AI will not be around.
Right.
Like it's just true.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting because I see it as a curation tool. It's not a creation tool, not a curate.
Yes.
So it
Yeah.
creates things and then you curate it, and it
Yeah.
does no different than other tools that you have available to you. What's interesting is there is a twist towards old school tactics that work really well. So like getting something in the mail, like a physical gift, like
Yeah.
the unexpected. You always should do the thing like if people aren't doing that, then you should do it.
Yeah.
And then, we like events, but we like events like something adjacent to an event. So don't go set up the booth, don't whatever, go and rent out a restaurant next to the event and invite people over. So how can you vampire and work off of, a built-in audience without necessarily doing the same pay to play that everybody else is doing? So those
Right.
are unique. We're big believers in like geofencing and display ads. So
Yeah.
we could like either geofence your competitor or geofence
Right.
a building. We had
Yeah.
one client who
Geofencing works great for like restaurants, pizza,
well, that's
fast
what
food. I mean,
we did too. We were geofencing.
B2B, explain how geofencing works as far as
Well,
B2B.
we geofence the headquarters of companies that some of our suppliers are trying to get into.
Interesting.
And so when people are walking into the office all day,
Right.
they're being geofenced by an ad. And you go to a conference and you've got a product that fits within that conference, you geofence the conference. And so now
Interesting.
you've got a built-in audience. They're there for whatever, because we work in like fintech,
Right.
insurance, those kind of categories.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden my phone's introducing a solution to me. And when I leave, I have a way of retargeting you when you're gone.
Right.
So
Really, now, and they have to have already obviously been introduced to you and have your app to be able to geofence, or is that different now? I haven't looked into geofencing in probably 7. Really?
So if I'm good example, I was in Money 2020 and there was a company in the Uber app, and they were geofencing us through the Uber app, and Uber's just selling off Trade Desk.
Right. Okay. Okay. Very cool. Those are some very great ideas. Because I've always thought of it. We were just at the NACS, National Convenience Store Trade Show or whatever in Vegas, and it was unbelievable. Like, I don't know. Have you been to any of the trade shows at the new convention center in Vegas?
I know most of the ones I've gone to are at the Venetian.
Well, it's insane. Like the Las Vegas Convention Center is the biggest convention center in the world. When I tell you it took me 5 hours to walk from one end to the other. Now, obviously, I'm looking at things as I'm going, but to walk through the whole convention took me almost all day.
Yeah.
Like, it was unbelievable. Monster setup, $2.5 million. Just their setup.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, it was amazing. But as I'm there, I'm thinking, I'm like, how can I just ping all these people? Like, you know what I mean? That would be so much smarter than spending. You know how much everybody had? Just the attendees, not the people there selling stuff, just as an attendee, which is what we went to be. We're like, dude, we'll just go as an attendee instead of paying 120 grand for a 10 by 20 space.
Yep.
And it was still $7,000 for 2 days per person.
Yeah.
Just as an attendee to be able to walk through and talk to people and hand out your business card, Imagine how many people we could have got in front of for $15,000 geofencing the people at that event. Right? Yep. Like, I mean, you'd have been able to hit every single person there, and you would never be able to do it physically.
And you get to continue the conversation. So the geofencing becomes better over time.
100%.
Because it gets more accurate as to who was there. And
100%.
So that's a tactic we'll use to help build companies' retargeting pools.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's a great, great, great idea. Yeah. I mean, and I never thought of it for B2B, but that's killer.
Yeah. Well, B2B is really no different. People are still people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you've also think complex sales, because we'll work with things that are B2C, but it is a complex sale. Like we're asking somebody to do something that they normally wouldn't do. So we have to put them on why it's better, right? So thinking through how you can do that in a meaningful way in this world of short attention spans and,
Mm-hmm.
kind of microdosing. People want to like pick up little pieces of content. So how do you fall into that buyer journey in a way? Because
Right.
who wants to download a white paper or a case study?
Right.
No,
No, no
right?
one.
No one.
Yeah.
So how do you make it bite size and learned along the way? And it takes, so in the B2B space also, it takes 21 touch points to get someone to the point of like then raising their hand. So
Yeah,
it's 21 touch
exactly.
points, 180 days. And it needs to be 21 consistent touch points, but not repetitive touch points.
Yeah.
So how do you think about that and make that work?
Absolutely. Where did my pen go? I've got 1,000 pens, and for whatever reason, whenever you need one, you can never find one. There we go. So geofencing is a great. Honestly, I think it's always been underutilized.
Yeah.
It's been around for a while. Like I remember when we first started selling mobile apps to businesses. When I first started this company a little over 7 years ago, mobile apps for businesses was still very new.
Right.
But and then when you talk about geofencing, they're like, "What the heck is that? What do you mean? Like when they go up to drive up to Pizza Hut, I can ping them? Like what? That's crazy!
Yeah.
Like they just couldn't fathom it. And here we are 7 years later, and still most businesses aren't utilizing it, right?
No.
Or have
And
even heard of it. And it's it blows my mind. It really does.
the thing about it with it too, B2B, they're often so far behind on these tactics because typically
Yes.
we work a lot with companies that are going through M&A or they're PE backed or whatever, and they're relying very heavily on organic. So we're the ones getting them into thinking more creatively, because
Right.
we get so far off organic, and any of the paid methods also assist the organic inside authority. So how's that balance? What does that balance look like?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And you brought up a great point about like doing something different too. Like so, when I first started the company, we did a mail. We crushed it with mail. Um, Now 7 years ago, that was pretty normal for business lending. I think most people were doing mail at the time, but it stopped being efficient. Like it stopped like the first 4 years, it was killer. We knew we were getting 4%. If we sent out 10,000 mailers, we were going to get 400 calls that next week, and it just started to drop off. It went from like 4 to 2 to 1 to 0.5% in like a 6 month period. And, because we weren't looking at it enough, by the time it dropped way down, we're like, oh man, what are we going to do? Like, we're scrambling because it's like, uh, we got to figure something out to replace all these leads that we're no longer getting because we can't send any more mail because it just isn't cost effective anymore.
Right. Well, and that's
Um,
part of it too, is like there's the concept of understanding that a tactic will eventually wear out. So how
right,
are you hedging yourself?
right. I
Just in a
mean, being omnipresent, I think, that's a key, making sure that you're not just relying on one, two, or even three forms of marketing,
yeah,
but you have a good round group of marketing and you're hitting maybe even the same people just in different places, right? Like you're hitting them with an ad online, and you're hitting them with something on social media, and you're hitting them with an email, and you're hitting them here, there, everywhere with content.
well, you're also trying to hedge out of like I'm working with a client right now that's addicted to Google Ads, like addicted, but
Wow.
they're saying there's the cost per lead go way up,
Oh,
and
it's
they
insanity.
don't have a good backup, and they haven't
Right.
all the other things, and so they're addicted to it, and they just want to keep hitting that red button. And I'm like, we got to hit another button,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Keep hitting it, but we got to hit another button because if not, it's gonna run its course.
Yeah.
So
100%. 100%. Um, so we talked about some of the some of the ways that are working really well as far as marketing goes nowadays. Automation, AI. You did bring up a very interesting point that every technological change, it's the same story, right? It's under siege. It works really well, and then it goes under siege, and then you got to slow it down, and then they finally figure out all the bugs, and they figure out how to control it and to keep it out of the hands of the bad guys, right? And then everything
well, and
becomes.
then it's also if you don't adopt it, I've done so
Oh
many.
yeah, if you don't adopt it, you're gonna get run over. You're
Yeah, I've
done.
done so many I've made a lot of money off companies that did not adopt soon enough.
Oh
And
yeah.
to like
I
help
mean,
them figure out
there's
how to.
still companies that don't have websites.
Oh yeah, we work in like insurance and
Right.
fintech. They're potentially fax machines still
Yeah.
going on.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. We got rid of our fax number about 2 years ago because it had been a year since somebody wanted to fax us something.
yeah.
And no joke, we had 3 people last week that wanted to fax us something. Like,
Oh, interesting.
why do you have a fax machine? Like nobody has a fax machine anymore. Take a picture of it and text it to me.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's wild. So speaking of websites, you also brought up the point of having that foundation. So making sure your website's in order, where you're driving traffic to is in order, you're producing content, you're on social media. That is the most important thing. Now, how do you know if your website is effective other than obviously the KPIs? But like, for example, we've had our website, revamped a few times over the years. But I don't think it's ever done necessarily worse or better or, how do you do that without, saying, oh, okay, well, we made these changes and now we're getting more leads. Like I get these emails all the time from SEO companies like, from India and, the Philippines and here, there, and everywhere. And they're like, send me $200 and I'll, change your SEO and, do all this, that, and the other. What's the
Yes,
reason?
yeah, so we have analyzer tools that we use that kind of indicate where you're, and that's one that we'll put a link up to so that people can run their site through and see how it gets ranked.
Awesome. So
Yeah,
you can send me that link and I'll put it in the description.
yeah, in the notes. And the thing that you have to worry about is you do need to fix all those basics. It's like having a car and you haven't changed the oil in a period
Right.
of time, right? Like, got to change the oil or the car's going to run really roughly, and everything you try to do on top of it isn't going to work as well. What you
Right.
run into sometimes with the SEO people above that is they don't really understand the business. And that's
Right.
what we're called LIGER. So we're strategy and execution. So we look at the strategy of the business, and then
Mm.
our SEO tactics and content and all those other things need to tie into that strategy.
Right. It's like
And
those AI guys that don't know anything about sales, but they're trying to sell you something that this AI is going to change your sales department, and it's like,
yeah, and they've never sold, so they don't
you're
really
just a
have.
tech guy. Like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
So you gotta, I mean, everything, marketing's job is to push business. And
Yeah.
so if you don't understand
100%.
the business, you don't have a way to do the marketing. So
Yeah.
it's like, does the marketing ecosystem support what you're trying to do from a business perspective? And then that's where because SEO may or may not be as important in some of those
Right.
categories, right? So like to look at SEO without having the rest of the information, without thinking about it as a part of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
I use all these like analogies, like you go to the doctor, they check your blood, but they also may need to check other parts to make sure that everything's okay, right? So
Exactly.
you're looking at one thing,
Yeah, and
and
you've got to do it regularly because things keep changing,
oh
right?
yeah,
Technology changes so much. I mean, guidelines change, like even requirements of what you need to have on your website.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
By law, depending on your business, like there's that stuff happening all the time. I mean, it's with any type of business. Just the other day, there was some update with realtors where if they didn't have some certain thing on a picture that they could get fined $10,000 for not having this new thing
yeah.
on pictures that they post of a house, and it's like, it's just things are constantly changing. So with the website, I've noticed keywords are like crazy, crazy important, not just on the website, but on like your Google My Business profile, right?
Yeah.
The keywords on there, a buddy of mine started a tint shop like 5 years ago. And the first 2 years, he didn't have a Google My Business. I'm like, dude, you got to get a Google My Business. It's free. Just get your domain. I'll show you how to set it up and whatever. So we did that. And I said, now everybody that comes in that's happy, you take them directly to your Google My Business and you have them give you a review while they're there before they leave. Fast forward 3 years later, if anybody's looking for commercial building tinting, house tinting, window to anything, he's the first one that pops up. He's got 250 reviews. The guy goes from doing, maybe 5 to 10 cars a week in this really small garage in West Baltimore, mind you, to now he's doing government jobs and hotels and skyscrapers and on the commercial side. And the only reason why these people found him is because of the keywords in some of these reviews on his Google My Business profile. And it just got huge. So now whenever anybody's looking for it, it's boom. It's him they're going to.
Yeah. Marketing is just like dieting or working out. Like people try to do like one thing and it's like, well, that's not going to work. It's like something you do and you see the results over time and done well, you get a flywheel effect.
Yeah. But like you said, you can't set it and forget it. Marketing is never going to be a set it and forget it thing. And I think too many of us wish that it was. And honestly, I if you ever come across that new marketing strategy and you're like, holy shit, this is it, right? This is the one, right? This is the one. And I feel like we're all guilty of that as entrepreneurs. Like,
everybody wants a quick fix. It's just everybody does. Like if I could push the easy button, then I'd be great, right?
Oh, 100%.
I've been analyzing a bunch of AI tools because in my role, it's to look at new things, and most of them are just like you're just reworking a workflow. Like that's it. Like there still has to be a really smart person who understands how to put the stuff in it. Or
100%.
Right. So,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the tools are only as good as the person using the tool.
100%.
Period. I mean, it's just like a hammer. If you don't know how to swing that thing, it ain't going to do much for you.
Yeah. Well, and that is the problem sometimes with like getting point solutions in marketing, because like that SEO person is like, oh, SEO is going to solve it for you. The social person's like, oh, social is going to solve it for you. And it's probably a little bit of both of those.
Yeah, 100%.
You've got to make sure you're hedging it. So,
100%. Well, and then it comes into everything else too. Like, you could have a great website and great SEO and great keywords and getting great leads. But if you got a crappy sales process, all that stuff. So, it's like everything has to work together.
3 funnels last week of things I was really interested in. And like one of them, I couldn't play the video because they had YouTube restricted. Another, it's like, have you tested your flow? Because now you lost me. I can't.
Right. You literally lost.
I was all the way in. I was ready. And then you got in my way. So.
Yeah. Make it easy for your clients to buy from you.
Yes,
that would be my biggest. I always tell everybody, make it easy for people to buy from you.
Yep.
And you're good.
Yep.
Right? Like, don't make it complicated for them to pay you. They're trying to pay you.
That's right.
It's like when you're at a restaurant and you're like waiting forever for the check. And you're like, I'm about to walk out. Like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, just bring the check. So I'm trying to pay you here. And so we can leave and so you can sit somebody else down.
Yeah. Make more money.
Exactly. Very nice having you on, Eric. It's been an absolute pleasure. So I will go ahead and add the link. You're going to send it to me so people can do a scan of their website. And what is it going to tell them about their website?
They'll send a report back and indicate kind of places that they need to improve and what their benchmarking is against others and things like that. So it just gives you a roadmap of what you might need to look at or consider if you haven't done a checkup on your site in a while.
Right. Very cool. Awesome. And if people need to reach you, they can find you on social media?
LinkedIn is my number one platform.
LinkedIn is your number one. Awesome. So we'll put your LinkedIn in the description as well. And look forward to talking to you again here in the future. Everything will be different in 3-4 months. Hell, everything will be different after this election, most likely.
That's right.
So looking forward to all the changes coming. Thank you for hopping on. It's been a great conversation. Excited to see where we go from here, because I'm definitely going to be implementing some of the things that we talked about today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you. Thank you.